this. Yeah. About time. Yeah. To my home, to the same place you could jump me at. So I'm running back to my own girl at the show. She didn't get her money back. Was a funny back now. I'm leaving with God. Actually, no. I'm smoking to see what this G's been on. Yeah. That's more like the only explainable reason it's taking this long, and I gotta refocus. Yeah. We got a hot one today, man. Boy, wait till I introduce you to this young person, man. We about to get it popping on Seed Talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. I got a very special guest, man. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this interview and hear about this young person's genesis story and how he got his superpowers on the mic and whatnot. But before we start, man, hey, please share and comment. Please, if you're in the YouTube universe, let's make it blow up, man. Let's subscribe to this. I tell people all the time, this is one of the easiest way to support a Black business, man. You can literally press play and walk away and let the ad dollars do its things, let the algorithms do its thing, man. That's how you support Black business, so we can monetize this. You can go ahead and donate to Seed Talk, Cash App, $, Logic Man, Venmo, at Logic Man. And the reason why, because I got that package on StreamYard. It ain't free. When you guys is paying for iTunes and HBO Max, I'm paying so I can have like the features on this podcast, so I can bring y'all those interviews with the people, locally. I'm putting Seattle on the map. It's already on the map, but I'm helping contribute to that. You know what I mean? So anyways, with no further ado, I got a very special guest in the building, man. I met this brother at the KEXP, a summer series. They were celebrating the 50 year anniversary of hip hop. I want to say the title was something like "We Got Next" or "Hip Hop Next" or "Next 50" or something like that. But the lineup was crazy. I Am Shamel, Rock was the feature artist there. Nikita Oliver, had my man Gabriel Teodros was up in the house. I know I'm forgetting some people. Jace and Felicia Lau, they were in the building that day on the stage. It was just a lot of phenomenal artists. And when this brother hit the stage, man, he just had so much energy, man. Like the tracks were like, it could be like 80, 85 BPMs, but his energy was just moving. He was like double timing the beat and he was jumping around. He had that young energy and the bars was there. Very articulate when he was rhyming. Very polished brother. And I was like, dang, and I was kind of surprised at his age and, because of his maturity, what I'm saying, on the mic and whatnot. And as a fellow MC and as a producer, I was like, man, I gotta talk to this brother. I gotta at least, see where his head's at and stuff like that. And then I ran into him again, what I'm saying, at a pop-up, with clothing with Revision. Shout out to Askia man, my son, and also Brian Pittman with Autumn Club. I ran into him there, man, and he was performing there. I was like, man, this is, man, something, man, life is telling me something. Yeah. And he hit me with, he said, man, I said, man, can I get your number? He was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, that's cool. But man, hey, man, you can talk to my managers. I said, oh, gotta talk to your manager. Oh my God, I'm surprised I even got this close. Where's security? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But he was just really, really mature. And I'm gonna let the brother introduce himself, man. Go ahead and tell him who you are, baby.
What's up? It's Oble Reed. I'm 22 years old, out of Seattle, Washington, born and raised, representing the PNW. And I make alternative hip hop music. Been doing it for about 7 years now, coming off the release of my debut project, Linden Ave. And man, I'm just excited to be here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's my guy. Okay, so you said you're born and raised, in Seattle. Let's just start there, man. Like, talk about your genesis story and how you got these MC superpowers, man. Like, let's talk about the middle school. Let's talk about the high school. Where you from?
representing North Side.
Okay,
North
okay.
Yeah, nah, yeah, I'm up in Shoreline, bro, and like I was saying, born and raised, and my experience with hip hop is it's been interesting. I didn't grow up listening to hip hop. I actually didn't listen to like mainstream hip hop until I was a junior in high school. So I grew up on contemporary Christian music and smooth jazz. And
Hmm.
my first interaction with hip hop was from a Christian rapper named Lecrae. I don't know if you know Lecrae.
Oh yeah, Lecrae's hard, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, he's hard.
that was
Hmm.
all I listened to. And honestly, it was a blessing because Christian artists, they aren't necessarily in the mainstream, but they represent themselves and they're authentic to what they believe in and they stand by it. And while I don't make Christian rap music, like all my music is authentic and intertwined with my life and my real like experiences. And so all of that taught me to just be myself in my bars and refine my writing skills, make sure that every message that I'm trying to get across is done articulately, and it's all well crafted and packaged, and yet still being like raw and all that. And so I was writing for a long time. uh I used to go by a different name actually. My first name was Moondrop, and I got that. Yeah, exactly,
That, that
exactly.
sound that sound like a kind of candy or something, bro.
It really does, bro. And it's like my thing was like I really didn't care about space not one bit. So I was like, what's my name Moondrop for? But I got it because I freestyled at a church camp over the summer, and I didn't have no name. And my counselor was like, "Bro, you need a rap name." I said, "Bet. What should it be?" He said, "Moondrop." I ran with it. I didn't change that until November of last year, bro. I just kept it.
Hey man, you couldn't take the name No Name because that's been taken. No
Exactly.
Name's the MC out of Chicago. Shout out to No Name.
Shout
She'll
out,
be
man.
here in November.
Come on.
Um, so Moondrop, yeah, man. Once you go to the store, man, go down to 7-Eleven, man, a corner store, and get me some Moondrops, man,
Moondrop.
and a Diet Coke, man.
That's so crazy. That is wild.
Go get some Moondrops and some Swisher Sweets, man.
But why do they low key sound like they smack though?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So talk about your name now. No more
Yeah,
Moondrop. You're the artist formerly known as Moondrop.
yes, FKA.
Talk about your name, man. Because when they said your name, I was like, I don't. Okay, okay. I couldn't. The first Oble Reed.
Yeah,
Yeah. So talk about where that name came from.
yeah. So that's my birth name. Uh,
Okay.
I took my middle name and my first name and I switched them. So Reed is actually my first name, and,
Mm-hmm.
and Oble is my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Oble. My family is West African, coming from the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's where Oble comes from. That's my African name. And then Reed is my mom's maiden name. They didn't have any sons, so they wanted someone to like carry on the name. So they gave me Reed. And so yeah, like I just felt, bro, like when I was going by Moondrop, it felt like a character. And all of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff, all of the art and all of the messages that I was pushing was like be authentic to yourself, like represent yourself as you because nobody else is like you. You're unique. And I felt like I can't go by a different name. I can't go by this character while preaching all of this. So being able to change my name to my birth name and something that's authentic to me just made it feel like I was able to be myself. And
Yeah. You
and
talk a lot. You talked about the church, and I really respect the church. I grew up in the church too.
yeah.
Trust and I grew up in the church in Ohio, in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bond Hill, shout out. But we grew up Presbyterian, which is kind of different because a lot of our, black people grew up, Baptist and whatnot.
Mhm.
And in that church, I started to understand like, you know, the power of like music and whatnot. And some of the dopest, what I'm saying, well, not at that church because Presbyterian is a whole different culture and flavor, man. But when I would go to other people's churches, what I'm saying, the band be on point, man. The
Mhm.
vocals be on point. So it's kind of like the band is kind of like the DJ, you know what I'm saying, in hip hop, and then like the choir is like the backup singer, but the preacher is like the MC.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because even when the preacher's talking, he's talking rhythmically. It's almost like spoken word, and some preachers be rhyming. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So I think that like Christian rappers. I grew up under a Christian rap group. I think they're out of Tennessee. I want to say they're from Nashville, Tennessee. They're called the Grits. And I remember growing up with them. They're pretty tight. You can Google that. Get your Googles on. Um, and what I really like about Christian rappers is that they don't most of the time they don't use a lot of profanity, if any profanity at all. And what that does is stretches your vocabulary.
Mhm.
And then they have some of the most underrated musicians and producers.
Yeah.
A lot of our producers in the black community came out of the church.
Yeah.
A lot of our musicians came out of the church, playing in the church band. Like, I can't tell you how many keyboardists that I've worked with for or and with, what I'm saying, who've come out of the church. I'm working with one right now. Shout out to Elias Bullock. I mean, he's straight out the church, man, on those keys, man, getting busy. So I love church chorus. So that's that. But talk about your family being from the West Coast. I've been to Ghana twice. I
Come
love the
on.
West Coast of Africa, even though I know that's different than the Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Talk about having origins and ancestry back there, and have you ever been back?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there for about 3 months when I was young. I was young. I was like
Hmm.
8 or 9. And bro, it's crazy. It's crazy to see people that, are related to you, like got the same blood, the same DNA, living in a completely different culture, right?
Hmm.
So I was young, but yeah, there was still a lot of things that I took away from that trip. And man, I'm trying to go back now that I'm like a little more sentient and I'm a little more like able to think for myself. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, man, it's interesting. When my grandma was still around, being able to talk to her and it forced me to I have to learn French. Like my parents and are both fluent in French, and my sister used to be fluent in French, but she kind of lost it. If she sees this, you know that you need to get back in there. But um, yeah, and so like I was learning French and being able to talk to my family and all that. It's different, bro. It stretches your mind and forces you to think outside of your bubble, outside of your box. And
Hmm.
you know, I haven't been able to go back, and I don't like talk to them very often. Um, but just knowing that I got people out there and I got blood out there and my roots are there is a blessing and stays on my mind. And
What,
they,
what,
huh?
I was going to ask you, sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
what was it? What did you learn when you went back? How old were you when you spent that 3 months? Because you know who you sound like, right? You sound like Nipsey Hussle, because that was his story. No,
Yeah.
seriously,
Really?
Nipsey. I love Nipsey because I knew what he went through because I made that trip back to
Mhm.
Africa. You know what I'm saying? And he was getting in a lot of trouble. And he basically implied, or he might have said it outright directly in some interviews, but he went back to Africa, man, because he was kind of on the run a little bit. So
Mm,
he went to Africa. He had, gotten some stuff. He needed a break. He said it changed his life.
mm.
It absolutely changed his life, and he learned so much. And I love it because he's from Eritrea. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So what did you learn? And how old were you when you went to Africa? And for those 3 months, how old were you?
I was mad young, so I was like 8 or 9.
Oh, so you remember it though? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think I learned a lot of things. I feel like I learned to be grateful a lot because, you know, when you go there, at least in the village that I was, like my dad's home village, like the kids, they are last to do anything. You are the last to eat. You don't get plates or nothing. You get the pot, everything that's left in the pot, and then all the kids like surround it and eat from it. And like going there, I didn't have to do that. Like they didn't make me do that. And it kind of made me wonder like what made me so different, right? And I guess it's coming from, here, and I had different growing up, so they wanted to make me feel accustomed and comfortable. They didn't want to just throw me in there, but it made me grateful for the opportunities that I'm giving out here, but it also made me feel more resourceful, right? And seeing the way that people are able to take what they're given and make and gather all their blessings from it. You know, squeeze every last blessing out of every opportunity that we're given. And
Mm.
yeah, man, it was just dope. I think that coming back here, it gave me a new, I can't say it gave me like a new perspective, right? Because I was mad young, but like thinking back to it and thinking about those experiences was it's crazy. It was crazy. Also, my it gave me a new respect for my dad because my guy is crazy negotiator. Tell me why. We are on our way to like this beach. We were about to stay in like these huts on a beach. Our car ran out of gas and we broke down at like right next to this like fancy like big resort, cost mad money, and we didn't have no money. We didn't have like no gas. We couldn't go nowhere. We couldn't pay for a hotel room there. My dad just walks up in there, finds the owner, and is like, "Hey, man, da 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 da," chops it up. Bro gives us a room for free, gives pays for our dinner there in the morning, invites us to up to his crib to like eat. I was like, Dad, what happened? Like, what was you saying? He's just like, he just does that. It gave me a new respect for him, and I got to see like his growing up, you know, and all of that. So
So you kind of came back to the States feeling really grateful for like the resources and stuff that you have here.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
see, that's what we have in common because that's exactly how I felt. Like, so I'm an educator, right? I'm a high school principal. One of the things when I went over there the first time is I adopted a couple schools.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, those students were way more academically advanced than American kids. Like they'll be like in fourth and fifth grade learning stuff that kids in high school are learning. I saw that in also saw that in China. Like international scholarship is way more intense,
Mm-hmm.
in advance. That's why they be saying they be coming here and taking our jobs. Not really. They earned them because we're raising our children, saying not to be, very competitive.
Yeah.
But one thing I did notice is they are more advanced and scholarship wise. Oh yeah, by the way, they speak like 2 or 3 languages before they're even in their teens
Yeah.
easily. And I was in Ghana, so they speak English, their native language, which is probably Twi, and then they also speak French too, because that's the colonizers. Those are the two colonizers' languages.
Yeah.
That's a whole different story. But I realized that they were more advanced scholarly with way less resources. I'm talking about paper, what I'm saying? I'm talking about pencils. I'm talking about they even wanted like French to English dictionaries. And they were saying, man, can you just, send us some stuff, back. What I'm saying? Just some school supplies, basically. And so to this day, man, it's been probably like it's almost been 20 years. Almost been 20 years. I went there when I was 30, so it's been 18 years. And to this day, if I see a pencil on the ground, I don't throw it away. I pick it up and I save it because I thinking I could send this to Africa. I could send this to Accra. I could send this to Ghana. You feel me? They could use this. And we're so ungrateful. Like those kids were poorer than us financially, but they were richer in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll never see no poverty here in America like you see over like the worst hoods. You'll never ever see the poverty like in Africa. However, they're not as violent. The most peaceful people I've ever met in Ghana. I don't know how it was for you, but it's kind of interesting. And I
Yeah.
also like to unpack what you said about your father, man, because I don't know if you see it, but that story you told me, that doesn't surprise me
Mm-hmm.
because you are like a hustler like your dad. Like I told you, you got a manager, you know what I'm saying? You out here getting your shows.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned to me you about to go on tour and do some stuff, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you got a lot, man. Shout out to your pops, man.
For real.
you know,
For real.
shout out to pops, man.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get into it. I want to ask you one more question
Yeah. What's up?
because this is what I think about a lot. Because I'm a little spoiled, man. I'm gonna spoil. That's why I really needed to go travel abroad and then humble me. What
Mm-hmm.
do you think you would be doing if you was in Ivory Coast, bro?
Dang. Like, if I moved there right now, if I grew up there.
Either one. Take it on either angle. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. Okay. Okay, I'll take it if I went there now. I think I think I would just try to get involved in the community as much as possible because the sense of community out there is so tight knit. Like there everybody is everybody's auntie, everybody is everybody's uncle. You pull up to any house for dinner. It's like you just go. Is and they welcome you in and like I just want to be I would just want to immerse myself in the experience and find where I fit in, where my role is, like not try to come in and like bring a lot of stuff like, oh, I got this, I da 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 da. Let me bring my experience here, right? But be like, okay, how can I build a new experience? How can I just be a sponge to everything that's going on? And
Mhm.
I and if I grew okay, and if I grew up there, I don't know what I would be doing. I think I don't know because my dad he grew up there, right? And he moved to France because he got family up there, and then that's where he met my mom. He met my mom in Paris because she was studying abroad. Um, they met, and then they came back to the states, and
Well, your mom was studying abroad. She's from America
she's from
originally.
yeah, she's from Everett.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, wild.
Mhm.
So like
So he got his paperwork together and came to the United States. Like he first started with a visa or something. Like was just like working first in the United States, and then
yeah, he went to
yeah,
school actually. He went to Seattle Pacific University, which is also where I went to college as well.
awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, that's dope. Where'd
yeah.
you go to high school?
I was up at Shorewood and Shorecrest, so both the Shoreline schools.
Yeah, man, that's where my children went. Two of my
Yeah,
children they went to school out there.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, he's a little bit older than you. My youngest son is 24, so y'all barely miss each other. He went to Shorecast though.
yeah.
He might have been an eighth grader when you was a sixth grader then, maybe.
Dang, yeah. I was
Yeah.
only at Shorecrest for like half a year. My
Yeah,
senior.
you guys barely missed each other. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Um, that's dope, man. You're a good storyteller too, man. I'm looking forward, if you haven't already done it, I'm looking forward to hear you talk about these stories. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
In particular, I'm a big supporter of the Africa diaspora, just basically supporting, our influence all over the world, man. You know what I'm saying? Melanated people, black people all over the world. And I'm just really interested in hearing your stories about, what I'm saying, having ancestry, what I'm saying, in Africa and whatnot. It's kind of
yeah,
cool. Like us in America, um, we trace our history. Some of us trace our history back to Africa, but more directly, we trace it back to the South. Like the South is the Africa, you know what I'm saying, or saying the indigenous or the root of America. That's where we get a lot of our customs, and a lot of those customs are derived from West Africa. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying, whether it be voodoo or Yoruba or Ifa or just a lot of even Christianity. It what I'm saying has like a very West African what I'm saying energy to it. Let's talk about your music. Why did you describe it as alternative hip hop? Because it don't sound. I want to know what you mean by alternative. It just sounds like hip hop to me. It just sounds like good hip hop.
yeah, yeah. I think alternative hip hop is, not mainstream. Like it's not necessarily what you would think of when you think of like classic hip hop, right? Like the drums be weird percussions, the chords aren't necessarily like, you know, musically like da, 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 you know what I'm saying? And I think that I don't know. It's just different and I don't cuss in none of my music.
Oh, that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
it's
Mhm.
all clean, and I think my music takes a lot of forms. And like if you listen to the track, like the two tracks we were talking about earlier, if you listen to "Hometown Hero," right, and you put that next to then the production of that next to Black Kids is like an indie pop type of beat that I'm just rapping over, and
Mhm.
then "Hometown Hero" is more of like it's like a hip hop beat, right? And so I think the alternative comes from the fact that my music can take many forms, but yet it's still rooted in hip hop.
Mhm. I like how you articulated that, man. I can tell you're college educated. Not to say that people, no, seriously, not to say that people, the only people that sound educated is went to college, because I know a lot of my, my brothers and sisters in the community, man, didn't step foot in college, but they just got, mad dope, what I'm saying, vocabulary, like, Malcolm X sitting in a prison cell memorizing the dictionary. But
Yeah,
I can tell that, you how you articulate yourself, in particular how you talk about music. It sounds like you study music, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
you study like the history of it and whatnot.
yeah. I tried, man. Growing up without listening to like the like mainstream hip hop or like the roots of hip hop and only being in like the Christian rap history type, it forced me when I started listening, I had to go back, bro. I
Hmm.
had to run it back.
You got to
And
study your art form.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm still learning a lot. And there's still a lot of like gaps in my knowledge, but like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to peep game from anybody. Anybody.
Hmm.
I'm still even though I've been doing this like, 7 years, I'm still a baby to the game.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and
How I see it, man, when it comes to hip hop, it's kind of like comedy. Like I do stand up comedy, and they
okay.
say how many years you've been on the mic doing comedy is how many years you are old in that art form. And I feel the same way about hip hop. So you
Yeah,
7 years old, bro.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
You 7 years old. What was I gonna ask you next? So yeah, who are some artists, man? Like, oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Like, what was it like growing up in Seattle? It's an international city. Well, you grew up like on the outskirts in Western Washington. So this is the like the international part, you know what I'm saying, of the state. What was it like growing up having African ancestry? You know, what was it like, feeling like you had to assimilate to black culture? Like, because some people who have African ancestry be like, I'm not black, I'm African. I'm like, oh, okay, that's deep. Okay. But a
Yeah,
lot of my friends, that I hang around with that are from the diaspora and have roots in Africa, even if they were born there, they're like you. They'd be like, no, we all black. So what was that like growing up, kind of like, accepting, that blackness? Because not every African accepts that.
yeah, yeah. It was an identity struggle for sure. I mean,
Mm,
I have a white mom and
okay.
an African dad. So
Absolutely.
neither of them have the experience of growing up as a black kid in America. You know?
Right.
And so there were things and experiences that I was having that neither of them could relate to. And neither
Wow.
of them had like they had insight, right? And they would help me work through it, but there wasn't that like, yeah, I went through that.
Hmm.
There
Hmm.
was there were mentalities that I would have that my dad, also being a black man, would be like, "Why do you even think like that?" Like I'd be
Mm,
like we were having a conversation one time where I'm like, "Okay, when I walk in a room, I look around to see how many other black people are in there."
mm.
And he's like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Because I'm trying to find some people
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you."
yeah.
And yeah, it was a struggle because it felt like I wasn't black enough for the black kids, but I wasn't white enough for the white kids. And growing
Mm,
up in Shoreline in particular, it's
mhm.
very white, like
Yes.
very, very, very white. And yeah, it was just trying to find my people, man. And I'm definitely more confident in my identity and who I am and
That's
and
dope.
and know who I am deep down inside where, you know, the people around me don't necessarily like dictate how I think of myself. Um,
Mhm,
but
mhm, mhm.
high school is a crazy experience. High school
Yeah.
is where you really, really learn about who you are and you make very conscious choices about the person that you're going to be, right? Um,
And
there's
college kind of like It's
Yeah,
a whole different experience. Like if you
exactly.
thought high, if you like, I be telling people a lot, man, because that's what I do. That's what I specialize in. I specialize in high schoolers and getting
Yeah,
them ready for that post secondary experience. And I like even something as simple as like romantic or sexual relationships. I be telling them like, you might want to hold off to college, man, because the scrutiny and the microscope is not intense in college. They don't care. You're going to be meeting people from all over the world, and it's going to blow your mind. So I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Um, how did Black folks embrace you in the Pacific Northwest, Western Washington, or specifically Seattle? Because that's kind of like, what I'm saying, that's like that's the elite stellar example city, us in Tacoma, and you get throw Bellevue in there too.
Yeah.
But how did Black folks in the Pacific Northwest, embrace you or respond to you?
I think, man, it was interesting. I didn't really have like black friends growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when I started to find people who could I had that shared experience with,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like a breath of fresh air. And like people were accepting, right? Like even though like maybe my mannerisms were different, maybe the way that I talked was different. At the end of the day, we all black, and we have that shared experience. And so like once I got to like the end of high school, my senior year, and I found like my group, and I felt like I was actually able to like experience my full self and really like, I don't know, dive into me and learn what makes me tick and all of that stuff. So
Mm-hmm. You
yeah,
think
people
you
are accepting.
yeah, man, you're doing a good job, man, because like I always like look at my like my we call them like ESL students. That's one of the things we call them, like English as a second language. Like they always have an advantage. Like especially my like I come in contact mostly with Spanish speaking students. I'd be
Mhm.
like, y'all you you think you're doing a bad job, but your English, what I'm saying, is way better than my Spanish.
Yeah,
Having being bilingual is, man, such an advantage, man. It just makes you way more competitive,
yeah,
what I'm saying, in this economy and whatnot. So I mean, you're doing a good job, and and you're very good at code switching. You know what I'm saying? So you got a lot of tools in your bag, and you're still young. So
yeah.
that's dope. Um, what I was gonna ask you is who are some artists, man, like that inspired you, man? Like, have you like, what was it like when you first, started off rapping? You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
and, and how much better have you gotten through the years? You only been rapping for 7 years, but you're pretty polished though, man, for real.
Hey,
And I like the engineering. I don't know how much input you have with it, but the sound quality is nice. It's a nice blend of that crisp digital sound, but it has some warmth to it too.
yeah.
So your sound is good, bro. You're branding your sound very, very well,
Thank
and
you.
it captures, and it has a good relationship with your energy level. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? It's in the pocket, so it compresses your voice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, who are some like artists that inspired you, and how have you improved over the years?
I I've improved so much. I've
Hey man, there was some years, man, when I was rapping, man, I was terrible. I was
literally.
terrible.
Oh my
Like I'm
god.
like I can't even listen. It's like I was all off beat, off rhythm. I was terrible.
Bro, literally. But what's crazy is I found like the first verse that I ever wrote when I was like mad young. Like those big uh like line pieces of paper that you practice handwriting on.
Yeah. That's
I
dope.
I wrote a verse on that, and my mom found it like in like an old folder or like scrapbook or something. I got it framed on my wall now, but
Right,
it was terrible. I used to record, I used to record into like a webcam uh,
right.
on my like old computer, and I was rapping about like laundry and like math and stuff, like
That's
whatever.
all good. Yeah.
It was terrible. And then I like look at my old stuff that's on SoundCloud that like I for surely unlisted because I'm like, no one needs to hear this. This
Yes.
is
Yes.
horrendous.
I agree with you.
And
No, not saying I heard it and I agree with you. I'm
you're
saying
like, yeah, bro, you were wrong.
take that out, because you never know, man. You might be triggered and start rapping like that one day. It's like, oh, hold on.
Yo, yo, and yeah, like even the improvement from uh my track Loose Change, which came out in 2020 and caught a little buzz. Like even from that, I've just I've never stopped wanting to improve. Like I've never got complacent and thinking
Right.
that like, oh, I'm that guy. Like I know that I can be so much better and that there's always room to grow. And
Mhm.
so like yeah, I feel like oh, I'm pretty like polished right now and like I got a good grip on my sound, but I always know that there's room to grow and like we've been in the studio recently just experimenting and trying out new things and seeing what blossoms from that.
Yeah.
And
So who inspired you, man?
So obviously the Christian rappers, Lecrae and all of that helped me like originally just like start
Hey,
working.
and by the way, that is a great person to inspire you, man. That dude is got crazy rhythm. I mean,
Yeah.
that dude can rap, because what we usually do, we take Christian rappers and we put them in a box and be like, oh, that's a Christian rapper. No, he's just like a rap. He's just a rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lecrae. Yeah.
Mhm.
Who else?
Now I'm really like J. Cole is a really big influence, and I think that it can be heard in my sound,
Yeah.
like that influence and that realness, and then
Mhm.
also like the Chicago scene with artists like Chance and artists like Saba
Yeah. I
and
hear that. I
Femdot.
definitely hear that.
And even in like the storytelling way and the way that they go about like articulating their experiences, I
Hmm.
feel like I get a lot of influence from, and they give me new perspectives and new ways to like frame my thinking, which I think is super dope. And sonics wise, I've been getting a lot of inspiration from the St. Louis scene with artists like Smino and Jordan Ward.
Yeah, I like Smino. He gets busy. I
Yeah,
like. I like
crazy,
that.
crazy, and just
Yeah.
the vocal textures and the synths that they be using, and like that neo soul mixed with like future R and
Mhm.
B, and still got like the hip hop roots. Like I don't know, I just have been crafting my sound and finding new places to draw inspiration from. But like those three, that like J Cole, the Chicago scene, and St. Louis have
Yes.
like are like
Yeah.
responsible for the music that you hear from me now.
How Seattle influenced your sound? Because I kind of lost touch, man. That's why I love doing stuff like with you and like Shamel. I am Shamel. I'm gonna release that. I don't know if you heard her. She was performing that day.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, Chamel's
um,
that's family.
but because I'm in the hip hop scene too,
Mhm,
and Seattle definitely influenced my sound. I was a big Butterfly, aka Ishmael Butler, Diggable Planets guy, and
mhm,
man, there was a time in high school I wanted to sound just like that dude. But
yeah,
how was Seattle and that Seattle sound? Because Seattle has a rich history of black music.
yeah,
How's it influenced you? And not to mention the alternative, rock music that came out that influences our sound also.
yeah,
So, how has Seattle influenced your sound, bro?
man, it's interesting. Like I'm kind of disappointed that in like my initial stages of getting into music, I wasn't that invested in the Seattle scene because there's still so much to the Seattle roots that I don't know about and I'm still learning. I got this uh book. It's called like the Emerald City of Hip Hop or something like that that just goes through the
That's
history
dope.
of Seattle hip hop.
Yeah,
And
that's dope.
like I'm really still just trying to learn and take influence, but like I really wasn't involved. Like even when I was really like starting to dive into my sound and doing the audio engineering thing, like it was when COVID hit. So I wasn't outside doing anything. I was locked in this treehouse studio that I built and
Mm, that's
just
fire.
yeah, just trying to figure out what my sound was. But nowadays I think a lot of the inspiration that I get from Seattle is the hustle, and
Mm,
it comes from the fact that our region is so underrated, and there have been people that have been putting in work, have the talent, and have all of the hustle in the world and still aren't getting recognized, but yet they're still going. And
Mm,
on days where I feel like, man, people ain't giving me the respect I deserve. You know, the city aren't invested in the stuff that I'm doing. Like I should be da 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 da. I think back to the people that been in the game 15, 20 years and still haven't gotten that respect.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
it helps me keep going. And like all of like the artists that have been in the game for a minute that I talked to, like I'm going on tour with Saul, and like he's one of the people that I read about in this book. And to hear the experience of what he was going through, and even people, you know, beyond that, has just opened my eyes to what it's like to come from a city that isn't doesn't have that hip hop like respect yet,
mm-hmm.
and ways that I can influence the community and build infrastructure. Like me and my team work so hard to put on events and to always bring eyes back to Seattle, whether we're down in LA, whether we're out in New York, whether, you know, we're on tour, all eyes back to here,
Mm-hmm.
because this community deserves so much more than it's given. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, just the patience for respect is is what I learned a lot from the Seattle artists and the Seattle scene. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mentality shift, man.
I will say this, man, to add on to what you say, man. I can hear it in your music. The Seattle influence, number one, is how you enunciate your words, and you're very articulate. Seattle at one point, if it isn't, was one of the most educated, well-read cities in the country. And I remember growing up, cats, especially in the '90s, be banging. You know, they be claiming BGD. You know what I'm saying? Blood, Crip, and they be rappers too. They be b-boys too. Um, but they were still some of the most articulate rappers when they got on the mic. Just their vocab was on point, how they said things. Really, a lot of it was inspired by like the Bay Area. You feel me? Like
Yeah,
40. Like that's a perfect example of a person who's from the street, but he creates his own vocabulary and he's very articulate. And
yeah,
that's what I hear in your music. Like I can understand everything you're saying. You know what I'm saying? You're not just and it's very intentional. You're not just saying something just to say it. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I definitely, you know, hear that in your music. And you know, so I hear like, you know, like if it follows the thread of like, you know, the ghetto children, you know what I'm saying? Like with, you know,
mhm,
B Self and Vitamin D. I would love to hear you. And we're gonna get to that. I would love to hear you do some collaborations with Vitamin D and Jake One. Those
mhm,
are some of our
yeah,
dopest producers in the city. But like even like Travis Thompson, who's come out in the last 10 years, you know,
yeah,
he was on one of those ciphers. Like it's very, you can hear it. And even like Sir Mix-a-Lot, very articulate,
yeah,
very articulate. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Butterfly. So that's kind of dope. I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say Mac Miller, man. I hear a
yeah,
little Mac Miller when you be rapping, man. I
man,
one of my favorite artists, man. Rest in peace, Mac Miller, man. I was really crushed when he passed away, but I hear Mac Miller, that energy, man, and you be riding a beat and it's similar beats. So I like your brand, I like your packaging, man. You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff.
thanks.
Any artists in the town, man, that you want to collaborate, man? Because I mean, I could hear you and I am Shamel on a track, man. I would love to produce that. You and her would sound fire on a track.
Yeah, yeah, Chevelle is dope. I think, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like smaller artists that I'd love to make music with, and then there's also like Travis Thompson. Like we've been trying to get a track in.
I'm telling you, that's why I said his name, man. Y'all would sound so dope. Shout out to Travis Thompson representing Burien, White Center area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's artists
Yeah.
like Nobi, if you know Nobi,
Mm-hmm.
he's dope.
Now I haven't heard of him. Hey, I can hear Dave B on one of your hooks too,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
That would be fire, bro.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like events that I go to and I be pulling up and like watching somebody perform, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how have I never heard of you? And we from the same city. Like you're crazy.
Because it's like what you said, bro. Seattle is a hustle city, and that's dope that you learn how to hustle. I was just now in an independent film called Fantasy A gets a mattress. And it stars, actually an autistic rapper that's known in the city. His name is Fantasy A. And it's a comedy.
Mm.
But all throughout the film, it really it's a satire, but it shows in humorous form how hard it is to get on in Seattle, going to shows and 5 or 6 people there. Like sometimes that's not even an exaggeration, but you still rock it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if there was 30,000 people there at that KEXP show, as opposed to I think there was probably like maybe 70 there. It was a great summer day. You would have rocked it the same way, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got that hustles. Seattle teaches you how to grind. Like, I don't care if there's 5 people, 50 people, or 5,000 people here. I'm going to rock this. You know what I'm saying?
That's the same within our team, man. 2 or 2,000, no matter what. No matter what. Like, we ain't got to peek behind the curtain to see how many people out there because it's not going to change the show. You know what I'm saying? And so
I'm gonna try to do my producer skills on, man. I'm gonna put together some tracks. I got so many people I would love to hear you on a track with. I would love to hear you on a track with Sam LaChow, Porter Ray. I would love to hear you on Porter Ray, right? I don't know if you heard of the brother Porter Ray. He gets busy, man. He's nice too. Okay. Yeah, man. I would love to hear you getting busy with these cats. I just got a couple more questions, man. I seen you at the pop-up, man, with the Autumn Club and Revision clothing line. Tell me how y'all got connected and whatnot, and what was it like to be a part of like some partnership with a clothing line? Because I could see you modeling for them and rocking their gear. You know what I'm saying? In your shows and stuff, and y'all both being put on. You know what I'm saying? As Seattle natives.
Yeah. No, that event was so dope. Shout out to Fuego. He was the one that connected us. And they were able to reach out to my manager and like we set it up and to be able to go to an event that's at the intersection of creativity. Like music and fashion are their own independent industries, but when they come together, that's culture. You know what I'm saying? Just getting to talk to people who have the same drive and the same energy about their art as I do, and it was coming in a completely different form. It's awesome. And fashion is something I'm super passionate about. And I'm actually trying to partner with a couple clothing brands before I go on tour out in the city to build some fits. And me and my creative director are going to shoot a bunch of content that is like fashion focused and like behind the pieces, the brands that create them, the owners of the brands. Like I've been able to work with like not only the Autumn Club and Revision that are Black owned brands, but also a brand out here that's called Jonah. I modeled for them and they made me a custom jacket for my headline show, my first headline that I did. And just to see other Black creatives succeed in what they're passionate about is all that I could ever ask for. And for it to be something like clothes that is like a hip hop staple.
It's one of the elements.
Yeah. It's just dope. And so that was awesome.
I got 2 more questions for you. First question is, what's next for you, man? I know that should be my last question, but that ain't gonna be my last question. My last question is gonna be about these tracks, man. Your music. I want to put them in a direction when we close out. But what's next for you, man? You got so much personality, you got so much character, you got so much marketing and branding, you know what I'm saying, potential, man. Like what's next for you, dude? Like you what's up, bro? You doing the fashion, you doing modeling? What's next for my guy, man? Come on, man.
We bring the music to the people in all facets. And so we're about to go on this tour. So I just announced a tour with Greaves that's going to come in December. I got my second headline show, November 2nd at the High Dive. And I'm really just trying to give this music a second to breathe. We just came out with a single. We got some more singles coming for the rest of the year, some music videos, and just, trying to get myself out there. I feel like I built a foundation that's strong enough, and we did a lot of this. And now we've reached a new precipice, and it's time to build another foundation.
Yeah, you don't want to plateau.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to just stay here and go like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But we got to make sure that we never go below this point, right? So
absolutely.
build a foundation.
It's better you plateau than decline.
Always.
Um, what is your goals, man? You trying to get signed? You trying to just like go, just stream, hella tracks? Because I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna have to keep it a buck with you, man. To be black, you know what I'm saying, and come out of Seattle is difficult, bro.
Mm.
Because I'm just gonna be real. The politics of it, I don't know how it works out with the marketing and whatnot, but the marketing and the branding is usually within the last few years is usually the proximity to whiteness, man. To be honest with you, the Travis Thompson, he blew up, but he couldn't even really pop. But the last one to really pop was the Macklemore. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And then before that, it was Sir Mix-a-Lot, and then Ish. I love Ishmael. Butler and Butterfly with Diggable Plans, but he had to go east, and he and not until Shabazz Palace's the work that he did with Tendai that he really started claiming Seattle.
Yeah.
So I mean, what you trying to do, man? Are you willing to go to somewhere else to blow up, or are you gonna stick it out in Seattle and help put our city on the map, bro?
I think that, man, everything that I do is for this city. Whether or not I'm in the city, everything that I'm doing is pointing back to here. And I want to be able to look back in 10 years at the impact that I've been able to have on younger artists' ability to feel like they have the same opportunity as an artist down in LA, as an artist out in New York, as anybody who's in a city that already has that infrastructure. That's why we did the things like the open sessions where artists can pull up and feel like they have a place to go. They know a step that they can take to further themselves in their career. And I never say no to a meeting. Whether or not I'm going to sign a deal with that person, whether or not we're going to actually look at the contract, I'll never say no to a meeting because that's an opportunity that's coming across my desk. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, who knows what the future holds in terms of labels or any of that. But I think whatever makes sense is going to present itself. Until then, we keeping our heads down and we keeping it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm. Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what I like to hear, man. Well said, well said. Um, so tell me about, man. What's some songs, man, you most proud of, man? That's why I want to end it with, man, so we can point people in that direction, man. Like
yeah.
I gave you like 10 seconds of think time, man. It's to really just think about, like, man, this song. Because when you make that song, you be like, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it puts you in a whole different mood, man. What's some of those songs, man, you really be feeling, man, that you done?
Man. Well, I mean, off top, Black Kids. That song was made.
Yeah.
That song was made 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I engineered it myself. I didn't do the final mix or none of that, but I built the treehouse during COVID, gutted
Mm-hmm.
out the treehouse that I built when I was 10, put
Right.
studio equipment in it, and
Wow.
I recorded that song. I was door dashing, heard the beat, dropped everything, canceled it, went up into the treehouse and spent like 6 hours up there and recorded it all myself. It's got like 50 layers on the hook. Like,
Mm.
and for it to be, when I finished that track, I knew I'd made something timeless because I
Mm.
knew I didn't have to release it tomorrow for it to be relevant. I knew I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to release it in a year from now. I could still be holding on to that track and drop it in 5 years and it would still do the same.
Mm. Where'd you hear the beat from? Where'd you get the beat? Like, you said you heard the beat during DoorDash and dropped everything and went and recorded it.
Yeah, it's some producer that I follow. He had posted a beat, and
Ooh.
I was like, "Yep, say less."
Mm.
I said, "This is the
Mm.
one."
Yeah.
And yeah, that track is up there, especially because it means so much to me because it shares my experience as a mixed child, but also just as a black child growing up, and the fact that are forced to grow up and lose our innocence so much quicker because of the reality of the world that we live in. Our parents have to sit us down when we're young and be like, you can't wear your hood at nighttime. Don't wear your backpack in no store. Get your receipt every time. Don't be around at nighttime. Like, we have all of these rules that are placed on ourselves at a young age. And the whole point of the song is like, what if we let our kids be kids just one more day? You know,
Mm-hmm.
save that conversation for one more day and let them believe that this world has everything to offer them without limitations that they have to put on themselves, that they aren't set back because of something that they can't control, because of the color of their skin, you know, because of the perception that people have on them, the prejudice, you know. And I don't know, that song just means so much to me. And yeah, that's just one of the ones, bro, that I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's a fire song, man. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that song, man.
Yeah,
Um, I would say, like I like that was it the hometown hero.
yeah,
Yeah, that's my joint right there,
yeah.
man.
Hold tight, hold tight here. I'm glad that that one was the one that that did like its thing on streaming and people resonated with, because I don't know, I felt like it was mad relatable. Because that whole time I made that track when I was so upset, dude. I was so upset because I felt like I was working so hard and nobody cared, not one bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the hometown hero, even though nobody expects it to be me. You
That's
know,
what's up.
and I
Mhm.
hope that every single artist out here, I hope that every single creative, I hope everybody who just has a dream feels that way, because we shouldn't be relying on other people for the validation of our dreams, you know?
Mm.
And that track, you know, the hook is saying, I ain't Superman, I ain't bulletproof, I be just like you, right? And it's like I wasn't born under special circumstances for me to reach the point that I've gotten to,
Mhm.
because I took whatever cards that I was dealt and made my own fate, you know, and believed so hard in what I knew I was going to do and manifested it into reality. Um and yeah, I'm just glad people connected with that one. That was a fun track to make also. Like, it just got that energy. I
Yeah, it's
love.
got a lot of energy, man. I like it, man. And sonically, it just sounds good.
Yeah.
Man, this has been a good man. Man, it's been one of my favorite episodes, man. You got to come back and just and just rap with me. Just since we got the Genesis story, we got
Yes,
we got the bio done. We can just talk hip hop one day, and you can just
yeah.
tell me about your tour and when you going over tour. Let people know when you going on tour, bro.
Yeah, so I leave for tour. My first date is October 6th in Oakland, and then we play LA on the 8th. Then we play San Diego on the 9th, and then we play Phoenix on the 10th, and then we play Denver on the 11th. Then I'm or on the 12th, and then I'm up in Bellingham playing Bellingham Exit on the 14th.
Yeah, man. So your manager put all this stuff together, man. So like like they book like how does that work? Like you got people coming out to the shows. You got you marketing and like you do a lot of your stuff on like on social media and stuff, and they're gonna show up.
Yeah, man. I like to think of it as I'm the CEO, and then we got a bunch of department heads, and so I oversee
Mm.
everything. But I trust everybody on my team to handle what they're supposed to, and so a lot of the tour came out of a genuine connection, and then figuring out the business stuff afterwards.
So
Um,
you were kind of like looking at the analytics and stuff and seeing where you had traction at in different areas, and just knew that those were the places that you needed to go based on the streaming or something.
so I'm actually a support artist on this tour. So I'm on tour with
Ooh.
Saul. I'm on tour with
Oh
Saul.
yeah, you did say that. Yeah,
Yeah, and so,
that's dope.
mapped it out for himself, and all of the cities low key just lined up perfectly for like where I got a lot of fans out of. And so I'm just excited, like a lot of people are going to be out there for him, but even the few people that might be out there to see me, I'm just excited to meet, cuz that's family. If they connect to my music, they connect with me, and that's the people I'm trying to be around. So,
That's
yeah.
dope, man. That's dope, man.
And then I got my headline on November 22nd at the High Tide, and
You said
that's
what now?
I said I got my headliner November 22nd at the High Dive. If you didn't catch the last one, we packed out Madame Lou's on a Tuesday, and
Okay.
crazy. I play with
So
a
you
lot.
gonna be out in Bellingham at the High Dive?
Nah. I play Bellingham Exit though.
Okay.
But my headliner is on the 22nd at the High Dive, and I'm playing with a live band. So
Okay. That the High Dives here in Seattle.
yeah, that's in Fremont.
Oh, oh, I gotta check that out on the 22nd.
Yeah, of November.
Oh no, oh November. So we got some time. We got some time.
We got
Okay,
time.
so when you got a website, like where can
Yeah.
they get all this stuff so they can put it in their daily planner and know when to catch you out? Tell them the website, man.
Yeah, I got oblereed.com. That's OBLEREED.com. You can find all my shows. I got merch up there. I got my own playlist called Oble 22 Tunes that I put in my weekly rotation. I change it up every week. I got my music videos. I got all of that up there. So that's a one-stop shop.
This
Everything.
this it right here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm about. That's what I'm about to be. I'm about to put that on my favorites.
Come on
I'm
now.
definitely gonna be checking you out, man, and whatnot. So for people out there, to end the show, we always do what's the action plan or what's the homework based on what we did. I'll just go ahead and go. You know what I'm saying? And let y'all know, man. Like the action plan for me, man, is if you out there and you doing music, man, connect with other artists like, you know what I'm saying, the Oble Reed, and figure out how y'all connect, man, with your strengths and your areas of growth and how y'all can complement each other. And man, join forces and figure out how y'all can really, really put Seattle on the map, because we got so many talented artists, man. But just like, before we even got on air, I was like, man, have you ever done anything with Sam LaChao? And you'd be like, nah, man, I might be seeing him around. I'm like, that's my action plan, man. I'm gonna try, strive my hardest, man. When I interview him and I talking to him, like, hey, man, have you heard Oble Reed? Man, you got to put him on some tracks and get busy, because he just now came out with a new album, and his new album's pretty, good. You know what I'm saying? So that's my action plan. But man, hey, it's been great, man. Speaking with you, man, and let's stay in touch, man.
Almost.
This has been Seed Talk. Hey, make sure you guys are sharing this. Make sure that you guys are commenting. Make sure you subscribing. Again, make sure you donate and whatnot. Make sure you check out Oble Reed's website. See where he's gonna be at. We love.